This episode is brought to you by Lucky Goat Coffee Company.
Welcome to News and Brews with the Times, where we spill the tea on what's happening in Hall County, Georgia. It's August 18th, 2025. In today's episode, we're talking about a new restaurant, an update on a crazy chase that ended in a crash, and a new discount store. I'm Shannon Casas.
And I'm Stacy Smith. Also joining us this week is reporter Nick Watson to talk about the second season of Taken Too Soon, a podcast from the Times which highlights cold cases in Hall County. Thanks for joining us, Nick.
Thank you for having me.
Now, grab your favorite brew and take a sip as we guide you through what's been happening in Hall County. Don't forget, you can also find all of the stories we talk about this week at the link in our show notes and on GainesvilleTimes.com. We've got new restaurant news. Brookton Catfish School is taking over Sherry's Bait and Barbecue on Dawsonville Highway.
So tell me more about this Brookton Catfish School. That's like right where I used to live. Sherry's Bait and Barbecue was kind of new. And now it's going to be a catfish school. What does that mean?
So it's a restaurant where they will be serving things like fried catfish, just, classic seafood items. But the school comes from how the business started. It was actually out of an old school called Brookton in Brookton, Georgia.
Where's Brookton, Georgia?
So it's an unincorporated town right next to Claremont, basically, in North Hall.
So about when did they first start?
So the family purchased the building, which was a former school, in about 79 or 80, and they operated for about a decade originally. Later, they opened a food truck business, again, called Brookton Catfish School. And recently, the community's been begging them for a new brick and mortar, so they decided to pick Gainesville.
So what's on the menu?
Your basic seafood, fried catfish, of course, trout, shrimp, hush puppies.
So when are they supposed to open?
They have a tentative grand opening for late August or mid-September.
So our team will be keeping up with when they have an opening date?
Yep, we'll be following along, and we'll probably be at the opening and have video and pictures to go along with it. So keep an eye out on GainesvilleTimes.com.
We've been working to follow up on our earlier reporting about a crash that involved a stolen truck, a chase across Candler Road, and the death of a Gainesville father of 5. I spoke with his family about what happened that night and about who he was.
So what do we know about how the crash happened this week that was different? I think we did talk about it last week on the podcast. So what's new?
Well, I was able to get a copy of the Georgia State Patrol report. Just on the crash, we're still looking to get more from the chase itself. From talking with the dealership last week and then the new information this week, the truck was reported stolen around 5:30 p.m. or so on Wednesday the 6th. And there was a witness to the crash who was driving northbound on Candler Road while this was happening southbound. And the witness told the trooper that the car that was being chased by the trooper swerved back to the right at the last second and hit the back of the GMC Envoy that Augustin Rivera was driving. And ultimately, Mr. Rivera then went off the road and hit a tree, and he unfortunately passed at the scene.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, they started to try to pull over that truck at like 5:45. So like literally 15 minutes after it was stolen?
Yeah, it was a very short period of time in between. The trooper tried 2 pit maneuvers, precision immobilization techniques, which is just basically they're trying to stall out the fleeing car by turning it sideways and trying to stop them from, possibly committing other felonies or hurting anyone else before they are able to stop it.
Okay, so they had that chase all across town, and then obviously Augustin Rivera died, and you were able to track down his family?
Yes, I was actually able to talk to the middle daughter, Angelica, and told me that he had been working at Marjack Poultry for about 21 years. He had worked his way up to be a team lead. He was on his way home, had called his wife, Maria. They'd been married for about 28 years and said, "Hey, I'm coming home. I'm hungry and just checking in on dinner." And shortly thereafter, he died in the wreck.
That's really sad. I think I remember from the social media posts on this story, something that you said in the headline captured my attention about the GPS data.
Yeah. So the couple, Maria and Augustin, they shared their location data with one another. And she had been checking in on it and saw that he had been in the same spot on Candler Road for about 10 minutes. And so she sent a screenshot to their daughter, Angelica, and thought it was weird. And when it was another 5 minutes or so, she called and asked if Angelica would come pick her up and take her out to the scene to see what was happening. And they got out there, they called dispatch to try and get information to see if there was a crash, and they couldn't get any information from law enforcement. They ended up having to park near Cottrell. And then it was about 90 minutes after that they were able to find out that Mr. Rivera had passed.
Oh my gosh, that's horrendous.
I think that's really relatable. Like my husband and I also will see where the other one is. And whenever he's coming home later, I'm waiting for him to come home. And if you see something like that, yeah, it makes you really anxious.
Yeah, it kind of makes your heart drop anytime there's something out unexpected like that. Or if, for me and my husband, if he's not answering the phone, I'll check to see where he's at. Like, oh, well, that makes sense. He's not answering. But, I can't imagine just seeing that on the road just for more than 10 minutes. That'd be really hard.
For sure. It's a very emotional story. I know I've said on this podcast before, but it is nice to be able to bring more of who he was too. So I know you talked with him about like how they learned about it, but you also talked to them about like who he was and the legacy he had in their family.
Yeah, I found out that he raised chickens. He had about 30 chickens, as well as a vegetable garden in the backyard, growing peppers and tomatoes so that his wife had some fresh produce to cook with. He was just a very compassionate, outgoing man. They would refer to him as like a little famous person or like a micro celebrity in the community, just because whenever they'd be out, there'd be someone wanted to stop and have a quick conversation with him that the family had maybe never met or seen before.
Well, thanks for reporting on that. We know that's always a tough story to tell, but important to our community. A new discount store opened last week on John Moore Jr. Parkway, and the crowd that showed up made you think it was Black Friday.
I remember we had another discount store similar to this one last year, the year before, that opened that had similar like vibes to it. Is this the same store?
So this is a new store, and it's called Deals Outlet. The owner spoke with us, and he does have a couple of other locations, but there's one south of Macon and one in Florida.
Okay. And where is this again?
John Morrow Jr. Parkway, so like over near the high school.
Oh, in that shopping center behind Outdoor Depot.
Yes.
Tell me more about this store.
So I think it's a range of products, things that might have been returned to Amazon, your closeouts, overstock, so all kinds of different things.
So I saw a video on our Instagram about a line of people that was wrapped around the building. What's the deal with this place?
People love their discounts in Gainesville. And this starts with a $10 rate the first day, and then it drops each day until they restock. And it's just, people like to hunt. Some people. I'm not one of those people, but obviously a lot of people in Gainesville, they enjoy this. The owner thought it would be a good demographic for them to open a store. And stores like that have been popular in the past year.
Yeah, I do know that it is a really cool place to get some unique finds, like, expensive items for $10. You can't beat that. My friend has like a weekend trip thing that she goes to South Carolina to go to bin stores there, and she just loves it. It's like super fun, like adrenaline rush type of thing, because you're fighting other people to try to find the best deals as quick as possible.
So it's about the experience for sure.
And the savings. Like, it's like, oh, I just scored. I got this $200 item for $10.
Yeah, there are definitely people who love that. My grandmother was one. I don't know about bin stores in particular, but she always had to find the deal and the sale and then look at how much money you've saved.
That doesn't appeal to me, but it would be fun to go with friends, I think.
And it's open now.
This episode of News and Brews is fueled by Lucky Goat Coffee Company, Hall County's favorite way to wake up your luck. Start your morning with bold flavor and small batch brews that kickstart your day the right way. Find them in Flowery Branch or at luckygoatcoffee.com. Nick, we've been excited to watch things come together for the second season of the Taken Too Soon podcast. Can you tell our listeners who may not be familiar with the series a little bit more about it?
Sure. We have been doing this since last year. We published the first season in August, and we tried to keep that same schedule again this year. So August 22nd will be the drop of the second season, where we talk about the Holly Fox Strickland case. She was a 32-year-old mother of two who was shot and killed and found in her own backyard on Raintree Trace in Oakwood.
So this is a series that looks at cold cases in Hall County?
Yeah, we've been trying to focus on cold cases where there haven't been a lot of publicly identified suspects or people of interest. Last year, we worked on the Elaine Nix case. That was a woman who was killed in 1999, found in the woods in an industrial park in Gwinnett after being last seen at Zach's Food Rack in Gainesville, and then was found behind an industrial park in Gwinnett County. We're not too far away now in Oakwood looking at Holly's case. And yeah, this has been an exciting process. There's been a lot of new information we've been able to get, and we're hoping to bring it to people very, very soon.
So this is a case that you were a reporter at the time it happened, weren't you?
This was in February 8th of 2014, and I joined the Times in June of 2014. But I did write the first anniversary story when a year had passed and no arrests had been made. Followed up 5 years later, and now we're at 11 years and no arrests. And as far as we know, no warrants have been issued for this case.
So you could say you've essentially been working on this case for a really long time. Has that contributed to putting together the podcast in any way?
Oh, absolutely. I've been in touch with Wilma Patterson, Holly's mom, since the beginning, since the first year that I was writing about this case. And so, yeah, there's definitely been some sources that we've been able to reach out to that are just from the fact of being here and having an institutional knowledge. And yeah, I think that also helps to build trust with your sources, that you've been here and you've been wanting to tell this story. And now we've been given the opportunity to put even more resources into it.
So true crime podcasts are really popular and there's a lot of them. Is it unique for one to have like that local connection with you having known her from kind of the beginning?
Oh, yeah. This has been when comparing to last year with Elaine's case. She died in 1999. I was 7 years old. So I wasn't really even sure what I wanted to do when I grew up, other than, maybe be an astronaut. So when that fell apart, because I get motion sick pretty quickly, this has been a case that I've been able to watch over the years and try to talk to law enforcement about. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting angle of, I've been covering courts for about 11 years now, and so I've seen how they handle a lot of these different murder cases. So it has been a big question in the back of my mind of, why hasn't this case reached its resolution? And
what would you say is the overall goal to this podcast? Why cold cases?
Sure. The biggest thing that we want to do, especially from the very top of the first episode, is humanize the person that we've lost. Because so often they just become a name and a picture on a story, and it's focused on the search for the killer, or who the killer is, or what's happening with the killer's case. But this, from the beginning, we try to start with who she was and tell about what's going on in her life and the memories that she leaves behind. So when we start each season, we try to make sure that we reach out to the family, sit down with them, make sure that they feel comfortable with us, because I find a lot of the true crime genre to be very exploitative. And so I want to make sure that before we even get started, I want the buy-in from the family to say, yes, we're okay with you going through this and possibly opening up some secrets that maybe we don't want put out there, but we're hoping that this leads to a resolution and a suspect being charged.
So what else can listeners expect without giving away, too many spoilers?
So we've been able to talk to some investigators that worked on the case previously for law enforcement, as well as some private investigators that took up the case in 2021 for an investigation discovery show called Secrets, Lies, and Private Eyes. We've talked to multiple members of her family, including her son, who hasn't talked about this case publicly since his mother's death, and as well as his father. What we're hoping to get out there is a lot of new information that surrounds the number one person of interest, I can say. Last year with Elaine's case, there were a lot of different theories that people had of what might have happened to Elaine. This year kind of focuses on one person.
So how many episodes and when does it start again?
We've got 8 episodes dropping weekly on Fridays, starting with Friday, August 22nd. And they will be out wherever you can listen to podcasts.
Perfect. I'm really excited to listen this year.
Thanks, Nick.
Here's the trailer of interviews that you'll hear this season on Taken Too Soon, a podcast by The Times. Listen wherever you get your podcast or look for the link in the show notes.
This season, we tell the story of Holly Fox Strickland, a young mother from Oakwood, Georgia, whose life was tragically cut short in February of 2014.
Angie Baker called Mom. She said, have you seen Holly? And I said, no. She said, her car's here and her purse is here, but she's not here. And I said, Holly ain't gonna leave them kids.
So she disappeared, and it was very strange, I remember, to come home from school and her car being in the driveway, but she wasn't home.
I said, will you ask Dwayne if he would walk around the property and see if she's not there? I said, she's there.
5 days after she went missing on February 8th, their fears were confirmed. Holly's body was found behind her own home. She had been shot.
I think in the initial investigation, everybody's a suspect.
There is also DNA found belonging to an unknown woman. To this day, we don't know whose DNA that was.
But still, no suspect has ever been charged.
This is Taken Too Soon, a podcast by The Times.
To support the kind of journalism you heard on today's podcast, you can subscribe to The Times. Plans start at $7 a month. There's a link in our show notes for that, as well as all the stories you heard about on the podcast today and the Taken Too Soon podcast.
Another way to support us is to rate and review us on your podcast app. That goes a long way in helping others learn about News and Brews. We'd also love to hear from you. You can reach us at podcastadmin@gainesvilletimes.com. Join us again next week and tell all your friends.